and really didn't know. So she wanted to come and stay the night, but he had plans. That was their night to go out with the friends. So he told her, we can change our plans. But she's like, no, I don't want you to do that. And then, then I crushed your night. No. She's like, but maybe the weekend I can come stay and have dinner. And he's like, cool, that'll work. So they go out that night, even him, and she meets all his friends. They have a great night. She finds out that he actually sold the Fuck Pad Hotel. So that was great. So at the karaoke bar, Eva finally gets pushed to sing. She sings Brave by Sarah Bareilles, which is a great song. I love that song. And then Gideon sung Lifehouse? I think that's the group. I don't think that's the name of the song. And he was absolutely amazing. No one knew the man could sing, but he can sing. And before he was done singing, she was just beyond wet. She runs up to the stage and she yells at him now. So they go outside to the car, and he, of course, has the car pull up around front, fucks her scentless, and the next morning, she asked Carrie if he liked the adjoining apartment, because Carrie came as well to kind of help with Megumi, and he did good. He kept her entertained, and he didn't go fucking around with other people. So that was like a good kind of sign for him, because normally he would have been fucking everything that walked. So they took him. They all went back to the penthouse, and he liked the adjoining one, so it could possibly work out with them all living together. I don't see how, but okay. So then Gideon gets a message. He leaves, and of course she's curious, like, where is he going? It's the weekend. So Gideon's message was from his security regarding Brent. Brent is in town because he wants to talk to Eva and also about that sex tape. So Gideon has had his Vidal. Remember, he's over that company. He's a majority shareholder. So he has the Vidal security bring him to his office. And so Brent, of course, is like, you can't keep me away from her. And I bet your marriage isn't even real. So clearly we know old boy's been digging. So Gideon offers him like $2 million and for the tape. Of course, Brent's like, no, I don't want your money. You can't just wipe away our memories. Just going all in. So we also got to keep in mind, Gideon, he's hired like his tech guys to like try and find that hard copy, because they're wiping everything that they're finding, but they still haven't got that hard copy yet. They do know that one copy of it was sent to his brother Christopher, his stepbrother, which is wild. So they don't come to a conclusion because Brent still wants to talk to her, and I think he wants to show her that tape to try and get her all hot for him again and try and remember the emotions. So there's no real conclusion. So Ireland comes over later that night for dinner. They have a great night. Gideon stays up all night because, remember, him and Eva have separate rooms, right? No one knows that. So Ireland's going to stay in Eva's room. Eva's going to stay in his room, but he can't sleep in there with Eva because there is a possibility something can happen. So he's just like, I'll just stay up all night. So Ireland can't sleep, so they wind up staying up watching a movie together. And she asked him to speak with their mother because, this is odd for her. Her parents don't argue. So he agrees because he does love his sister. So then they take her back the next day. The mother comes out and she's all apologetic of what she said about Eva the other day, and she wants to have them. She wants to have lunch or dinner with them later that week. Eva asks, she yells out, "Is Chris going to be there?" And Elizabeth, the mom, was just like, "Of course, we're a team." So then they leave. Eva's, of course, she's pissed off because he didn't tell her about what her mother had said about her. And he's like, what's the point of bringing it up? Did you tell me about Brent messaging you? And she was just like, no. It's like, so they're both guilty of not telling the other people things. But the difference is his stuff is on a larger scale. And she did make the comment, we got to start being a lot more honest with each other about stuff and not just being selective on what we tell each other. They go to work the next day, and on their commute there, she gets a call from Brent, and so she finally answers because he's been messaging her trying to get to talk to her. So she finally answers, and he's like, I've been trying to reach you. We need to get together, coming to New York. He's like, I'm already here. He's like, he was about to say, didn't Cross tell you, but he didn't go into it. So he's like, I need to talk to you. I need to see you today. So she agrees to see him at lunch. So Gideon doesn't stop working, but she can tell he's tense. But he doesn't say anything. So she goes to work, and there's this company called Landcore, and they want them to go over this new launch with them. They want them to be over the marketing, Mark and his team. So that's going to cause some stuff later, and we'll talk about that later. So lunchtime rolls around. She orders lunches, sandwiches. So that way, we can make this as quick as possible. So they go to Bryant Park, which I love. I went there. Oh my gosh. And have their sandwiches. So of course he starts with that whole spiel about, wanting her, and that, what she saw when she was in San Diego. That girl doesn't really mean anything to me. I just kind of hook up with her. She reminds me of you, the whole thing. And she's like, listen, I'm married and I love Gideon. So nothing's changing. And he kept on going on. And then he brought up about the video. And she was just kind of like, you've seen it. So you knew about it. And you want to use parts of it. Is that why you want to see me? Because you want to use parts of it for whatever? I don't know. I don't think it was a documentary, but I think they were trying to reshoot the video or something. So he wanted to use parts of that video in the new video. And so she was just kind of like, so you're telling me you watched this with your bandmates? And he was like, well, yeah, but she's like, so they saw that. He's like, well, there was more. They had stuff on there too. It wasn't just us. And she's like, you know what? The one thing about Gideon is he would never sit there and watch a sex tape of me with someone or us with his friends. He would never do that. And so Brent tried to get himself out of it, but it was already too late. She was already overwhelmed. And she's like, I got to get out of here. So she goes running away. And our good old boy Gideon's going to be there. And he was. And he got her. And he was like, it's okay. It's okay. He's like, I got you. Normally, she would have been mad about him following her or knowing where she was. But she wasn't. Because at that moment, she needed that man. And he was absolutely there for her. And we all know Gideon is not about to let her be anywhere with no Brent by herself. That is not happening. Gideon also, later that day, he finds out that was Ann Lucas at that charity event a few weeks back that had approached Eva. That was her. So he goes to her office, interrupts her whole session. So she had that lady leave and reschedule. And he said, okay, you've gotten me here. So what do you want? And she goes, you haven't thrown away Eva yet? She must not know who you really are. And he's like, then she starts going on about, she's like, yeah, does she know how you like to shove dildos up women's asses while you fuck them relentlessly? And he told her, you weren't special. I did that to plenty of women. And that made me laugh. And so Anne is the sister of Hugh, his violator, because we got to use that because we can't say the R word. But that was kind of his way of making out, I don't know, maybe trying to get punishment back to Hugh, because he said Anne had some of Hugh's mannerisms and she kind of favored him. So I think he did all that stuff. He punished her to pay for her brother's sins, basically, which is crazy, but yeah. And so she lets him know that she now knows Eva is a chink in your armor and I'm going to get her. And, he's like, is that a threat? And she's like, why no? Why would I ever do that? Because she's a psychologist. The bitch want to play mind games. So he tells her, if you go anywhere near her, not anywhere near her, I'm saying that, I will destroy you and I will take everything you have. And he leaves. So after that, he goes to his appointment and he has the same dance with his therapist. He won't talk. Therapist trying to get him to talk. And the therapist says, well, you know what? You deal with consultants all the time, right? Think of me like a consultant, okay? Think of me as the person that's going to help you deal with your past. And then that way you can deal with the future on your own. His stepfather comes to see him at his penthouse and he lets him know, first of all, he was sorry because he didn't know about the situation with Eva and Brent, and that Brent still had feelings and was trying to get her. And he was like, I apologize because I could have, stopped a lot of that stuff from happening. And then he tells him, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. He's like, I went to Lucas's place, his office. I decked him. He's like, if that Hugh guy was alive, I would have took him out. He's like, I didn't know. He's like, I failed you. He was so incredibly, it was so sad. I felt so bad for him, but it broke Gideon. Absolutely broke him. But he didn't break until the guy left because he made him get out. And then Chris called later on trying to get Eva to, is he okay? And Eva didn't know what was going on. Eva didn't know what was going on, but once he started talking, she realized he had gone and, he knew, he believed in X, Y, and Z. So she was like, all right, I'll go check on him. Don't beat yourself up. You didn't know. So she has on a nightie, but she just throws on a coat, runs over to that man's house, takes a cab, gets over there. And soon as she hits the elevator, gets to the penthouse, it's completely dark energy. He was in a low place. And he told her to leave. He kept telling her to leave. You need to leave. She didn't want to go. And he said, I need you to go because I don't know if I can stop. And I don't want to hurt you and break us forever. And so he even tied her up in the elevator to get her to go when she was cussing him out. And finally he let her go. And she was like, I know it hurts. It hurts worse when they know, because then you feel like I could have said something earlier. I could have stopped the pain earlier. And he's like, shut up. You're always bringing up stuff from the past and da-da-da-da-da. And it was just an extremely emotional night. And they had an incredibly intense fuck. But she took it. I don't know how the hell she took that pounding, but she did. The next day, the designer comes over. They do the plans. Eva goes, has a talk with Carrie. All of a sudden, Gideon hears Eva yelling. So apparently, Carrie has a history of cutting himself, and he started doing it again. So he's telling Eva, you haven't been there for me. And she was like, you got to tell me when you need me. I'm not a mind reader. And this again shows to me the dependency. That's just not healthy between the two of them. So, and I was on Eva's side. You cannot sit up here and get upset with me when you haven't told me what's going on. It's not like she's not available, but she does have a lot of stuff going on, right? And I do understand at the same time, people are like, oh, I don't want to bother you. But then if you don't want to bother me, then don't fucking throw it up in my face and saying that you weren't there for me. Motherfucker, you didn't say anything. You got to talk. And as much as they've gone to therapy, they know the importance of communication. So that was trash. I was like, nah, that's trash. Don't put that on her. That's not fair. Gideon goes to meet Clancy because, Clancy's going to keep an eye on Eva. And basically what they got from the conversation, because I think Clancy's the one that kind of did the whole planning of the bracelet on that mobster. Because he has ties. His brother's an FBI agent and he has his own ties and stuff like that. So he's going to watch out for Eva, period. That's not going to change. And there was really no resolve when he went to meet Clancy. Clancy's like, until I feel like she's safe, then I'll back off. Until then, I'm going to keep my eye on all of you. And he couldn't do nothing but respect that. Hell, that man's known her a hell of a lot longer than you have. And you see how protective you are over her. So imagine someone that has more of a fatherly type of protection for her. That man ain't finna let up. And I respect him for that, because they have a lot of chaos. So he goes back to work. He gets a visit from Deanna Johnson right before he's about to leave. She tells him Corinne has done a tell-all book and it will hit the wire Monday at 9 a.m. Eva and Gideon go to therapy. Dr. Peterson again tries to get Gideon to explain why he's so afraid he would hurt her. And he was like, when he gets angry and enraged, he wants her because he needs to feel that connection that only she can provide. And then Dr. Peterson asks Eva, are you afraid of that? And she's like, no. Wait, let me say it correctly. Are you afraid that he might go too far? And Eva says, no. And he says, you should be. And I agree with the doctor. Yeah, that's a lot. So at night, her and Carrie, they have a heart to heart, and he of course was sorry for dumping everything on her. And apparently Tati's been like a raging bitch.